Raising a family is a challenge that requires access to quality education, safe neighborhoods, affordable housing, reliable healthcare, and economic opportunity. For Black families in America, these essentials are often harder to secure due to systematic racial disparities that persist in many regions. Numerous reports and data sets from the U.S. Census Bureau, FBA crime statistics, the CDC, and education assessments paint a sobering picture of the states where the Black family face the greatest obstacles. In today's videos, we look at the top 10 worst states to raise a Black family, considering educational quality, home ownership, affordability, healthcare access, and of course, safety. Hi, my name is Jared and welcome to Black Excellence, where we celebrate all the ways Black people pursue excellence in their everyday lives. If you're searching for ways to fuel your own journey of excellence with content on where to live, where to travel, lifestyle trends, and unconventional ways to do it all, you know what to do. Hit that subscribe button and join our circle of excellence. This list, of course, is in no particular order, but you know this first state was going to be on here somewhere. At number 1, we have Mississippi. Mississippi ranks consistently near the bottom in economic opportunity and quality of life for Black families. According to the U.S. Census Bureau, Mississippi's median household income for Black families is just over $35,000, significantly lower than the national median of approximately $47,000 for Black households. Education remains a major hurdle. The state's average high school graduation rate for Black students is about 70%. Trailing the national average of 85%. Schools serving majority Black communities often suffer from chronic underfunding, resulting in fewer advanced courses, outdated materials, and high teacher turnover rate. The National Assessment of Educational Progress shows Black students in Mississippi scoring well below proficiency in math and reading compared to their white peers. Home ownership rates for Blacks in Mississippi stand at just about 34%, below the national Black home ownership rate of 42%. Historical redlining and ongoing lending discrimination continue to limit access to mortgage financing. Even though Mississippi's housing is generally affordable, many Black families face barriers due to low credit scores and limited wealth accumulation. Healthcare disparities compound challenges. Mississippi has the highest percentage of uninsured residents in the nation, with approximately 15% of Black adults lacking health insurance. This lack of coverage contributes to the disproportionately high rates of chronic disease like diabetes and hypertension. The state also records some of the highest infant mortality rates, with Black infants dying at more than twice the rate of white infants. Safety concerns are also acute. The FBI's 2023 Uniform Crime Reporting data shows violent crime rates are nearly 50% higher than the national average, with Black communities often disproportionately affected. This type of environment only exacerbates stress and trauma for families trying to build stability. At number 2, we're headed to Wisconsin. Wisconsin constantly ranks as one of the worst states for Black families due to pervasive and significant racial disparities across nearly every major indicator of well-being. These disparities are often among the largest in the nation, indicating deep-seated systematic issues that disadvantage Black residents compared to their white counterparts. While Wisconsin might rank well overall in some metrics, these averages mask a stark reality for their Black population. One of the most alarming areas of disparity is, again, education. Wisconsin holds the regrettable distinction of having the widest achievement gap in the US for math and reading scores between Black and white students. For instance, recent data shows that Black 4th grade students in Wisconsin score an average of 45 points lower than their white peers in reading, and Black 8th graders scored 39% lower. Similar disparities exist in math, with Black 4th grade students scoring 47 points lower and 8th graders scoring 50 points lower than their white counterparts. These gaps translate into significantly lower high school graduation rates for Black students. 29% not graduating on time for Black children versus 6% for white children. And a substantial lack of proficiency in core subjects, severely limiting future opportunities. And I'm sorry, this problem is only compounding worse and worse and worse. What's gonna happen when we get to AI? Black households in Wisconsin experience a median income that is significantly lower than white households. As of 2019, the median income for Black households was around $31,351 compared to the $64,927 for non-Hispanic white households. and this gap has only widened over the last decade. Consequently, Black residents face much higher poverty rates, with around 27% living in poverty compared to just 9% of white residents. Housing further illustrates the disparity. Wisconsin has one of the worst Black home ownership rates in the country, at around 25% compared to the national average of 44% of Black households. And the Black-white home ownership gap in Wisconsin is a staggering 47 percentage points, significantly wider than the national gap of 30 points. And don't even get us started about the justice system and the healthcare sectors that revere severe inequities. Wisconsin leads the nation in Black incarceration rates, with 1 in every 36 Black Wisconsinites in prison, meaning Black people are nearly 12 times more likely to be incarcerated than white people. This is a significantly higher disparity than the national average. The hyper-incarceration is not solely due to the higher crime rates, but also to disproportionate arrest rates. For example, Black individuals are 11 times more likely to be arrested than white individuals in Dade County alone, and get harsher sentencing. In healthcare, Black families in Wisconsin face alarming disparities, particularly in maternal and infant health. The pregnancy-related death rate for Black mothers is 5 times higher compared to white mothers, and the Black infants are 2.7 times more likely to die in their first year of life than white infants. And number 3, we're moving to Louisiana. Louisiana's Black families face significant barriers rooted in education inequities and public safety issues. The median income for Black households in Louisiana is approximately $38,000, below both the state median of $51,000 and national averages. Education disparities remain stark. The state's Black high school graduation rate is about 71%, lagging behind white students at 86%. Funding gaps leave schools in predominantly Black neighborhoods struggling with overcrowding and a lack of resources. According to the Louisiana Department of Education, only 28% of Black students are proficient in math and 32% in reading on standardized tests. Home ownership rates for Black Louisianans is roughly 37%, despite low housing costs in many areas. Decades of discriminatory housing policies and economic inequity limit home ownership wealth building. Healthcare access is problematic. The CDC reports that Black residents in Louisiana suffer from disproportionately high rates of obesity, diabetes, and heart disease. Public safety issues weigh heavily in Louisiana also. New Orleans, with a large Black population, experienced a violent crime rate over twice the national average in 2023, according to the FBI data. High homicide rates and property crime disproportionately impact Black families, limiting neighborhood stability and safety. At number 4, we have another deep South state where Black families just don't fare so well, and that would be Alabama. Alabama's Black families experience persistent challenges across education, health, and housing. The median income for Black households in Alabama is around $39,000 compared to the state's median of $52,000. Educational outcomes for Black students lag. The state's graduation rate for Black youth is approximately 72%, lower than the national average. The Alabama State Department of Education reports that Black students have limited access to advanced placement courses and often attend schools with lower per student spending. Home ownership rates for Black residents, just 38%. Health disparities are pronounced in this state. Alabama has one of the highest rates of uninsured Black adults at 16%. Black Alabamians also face higher rates of maternal mortality and chronic disease such as hypertension. Access to quality healthcare remains limited in rural areas where many Black families reside. Safety is another concern. According to FBI data, cities like Birmingham and Mobile report violent crime rates of 40 to 50% above the national averages, disproportionately impacting Black neighborhoods again and compounding family stress. And number 5, we have Ohio. Ohio is constantly identified as one of the most challenging states for Black families, marked by pervasive and often widening racial disparities across crucial aspects of life. These disparities point to deep-seated systematic issues that create significant barriers for Black residents. Education in Ohio reflects significant racial gaps. Black students consistently lag behind their white peers in standardized test scores and graduation rates. These achievement gaps are often attributed to disparities in school funding. The long-term consequences of these educational disparities are severe, impacting future economic mobility and overall well-being. Economically, black families in Ohio face substantial challenges. There is a persistent income gap, with black households having significantly lower median incomes compared to white households. The state's housing market also presents significant hurdles for black families. Ohio has a widening home ownership gap between black and white residents, reaching 37 percentage points by 2021, which again is larger than the national average. Black Ohioans are also more likely to be denied mortgage loan applications compared to white applicants. And black mortgage holders are twice as likely to be severely house poor or cost burdened, which means spending more than half of their income on housing. Finally, Ohio's criminal justice system exhibits stark racial disparities. Black Americans in Ohio are incarcerated in state prisons at more than 5 times the rate of whites. Black Ohioans make up 45% of the state's prison population, despite being only 12% of the state's total population. Again, these figures underscore deep-rooted biases in policing, sentences, and bail practices that disproportionately impact black communities and lead to higher rates of incarceration, which in turn destabilizes families and limits future opportunities. At number 6, we have Arkansas. Arkansas presents significant challenges for black families, especially in rural communities. The median black household income in Arkansas is about $37,000, whereas the state median is $49,000. Education in Arkansas struggles with underfunded schools and achievement gaps. The graduation rate for black students is near 70%, with many facing inadequate school facilities and limited extracurricular opportunities. NAEP data indicate black students score below proficiency in key subjects. Home ownership among blacks in Arkansas is roughly 34%. While housing costs are affordable, poverty and a lack of stable employment limit home buying power and asset building. And what do you know? Healthcare access in this state is uneven again, especially in rural areas. Uninsured rates among black adults reached 15%. What comes with a lot of uninsured people? Higher rates of preventable chronic diseases in the black community. Violent crime rates are elevated in urban centers like Little Rock, where black families often reside in higher risk neighborhoods, adding to instability and again, stress. At number 7, we have South Carolina. South Carolina's black families face systematic inequalities in education, home ownership, and health. Black household median income is about $40,000, well below the state median of $53,000. Black students graduate high school at a rate near 71%, lower than white students at 87%. Schools serving black communities receive less funding and report lower standardized test scores. Black home ownership rates stand at approximately 39%, limited by economic disparities and historical housing discrimination. Healthcare challenges persist, with high uninsured rates and again elevated rates of chronic illness and infant mortality in black communities. Crime remains a concern in cities like Columbia and Charleston, with violent crime rates above national averages disproportionately affecting who other than black neighborhoods. At number 8, another Midwest state, we have Michigan. Michigan actually presents a complex picture for black families, often ranking among the states with significant racial disparities that hinder well-being and opportunity. While the state has made some efforts to address these issues, the data reveals persistent challenges across crucial sectors, including the justice system, education, housing, healthcare, and economic opportunity. One of the most striking areas of concern is Michigan's criminal justice system. Black people in Michigan are disproportionately represented at every stage of the legal process. They constitute about 15% of Michigan's residents, but make up 30% of people in jail and a staggering 53% of people in prison. This overrepresentation stems from factors such as racial profiling, harsher sentencing for similar offenses, and limited access to adequate legal representation, leading to widespread family disruption and diminished economic prospects for black communities. Education in Michigan also reflects deep racial achievement gaps. While specific numerical gaps can fluctuate, studies consistently show that black students in Michigan lag behind their white peers in academic proficiency and graduation rates. Factors contributing to this disparity include unequal school funding, which often disadvantages districts with higher concentrations of black students, and a lack of access to experienced and high qualified teachers in predominantly predominantly black schools. For instance, a 2025 analysis found that students in schools serving majority black populations were nearly 4 times more likely to learn from educators teaching outside of their fields of study, and nearly twice as likely to learn from less experienced teachers. These educational inequalities create significant long-term barriers to higher education and stable employment. In the realm of housing, Michigan exhibits substantial black-white home ownership gap again. Recent reports indicate this gap is around 31 to 34 percentage points. And we all know that this disparity is crucial because home ownership is a primary driver of intergenerational wealth accumulation and stability. Black and Hispanic applicants in Michigan face significantly higher rates of mortgage denial compared to white applicants, 21% versus like 11%. Economically, while Michigan has seen some improvements, earning gaps with white non-Hispanic workers have persisted. Black households continue to face lower median incomes and higher poverty rates compared to white households, undermining their financial stability and overall well-being. And number 9, we have Oklahoma. Oklahoma struggles with high poverty among black families and significant healthcare and educational inequities. Median black household income is about $38,000, while graduation rates for black students hover near 68%, which is the lowest graduation rate on this list. Economic opportunities for black families in Oklahoma are also severely limited. Black Oklahomans experience significantly higher rates of poverty compared to white residents. Recent data indicates that over 28% of black Oklahomans live in poverty, compared to around 13.4% of white Oklahomans. Home ownership is around 36%, limited by poverty and a lack of opportunity. Healthcare access is limited, with 16% of black adults uninsured and elevated rates of preventable diseases. Violent crime disproportionately affects black neighborhoods in Tulsa and Oklahoma City. And last but not least, we have Indiana. Indiana consistently appears on the list of states with the largest racial disparities, indicating that while states' overall performance might seem average, it masks a profoundly unequal experience for its black residents. Indiana has one of the highest black male incarceration rates in the nation. While black males comprise around 4.5% of the state's population, they represent over 32% of the incarcerated offenders in state prisons. Indiana's healthcare system performs significantly worse for black people than for white people. Black males in Indiana have the highest mortality rates and disproportionately suffer from chronic diseases like obesity, high blood pressure, and diabetes. Black students are disciplined, suspended, and expelled at disproportionately higher rates than any other ethnic groups, which of course impacts their academic progress and contributes to higher dropout rates. And of course, this early funneling into disciplinary systems sets a negative trajectory. Black households in Indiana experience substantial income gaps and higher poverty rates. Black males in particular face higher rates of unemployment and underemployment, coupled with a lack of job readiness and education, contributing to overall economic instability for black families. The median household wealth for Indiana as a whole ranks among the least wealthiest states in the country, and these challenges are compounded for black households. Indianapolis data reveals that white residents are around 2/3 homeowners compared to only 1/3 of black residents. This residential home ownership gap limits wealth accumulation for black families. Segregation and a lack of investment in predominantly black neighborhoods also contribute to poor living conditions and limited access to resources. The states we talked about today consistently fail to provide black families with the educational quality, housing stability, healthcare access, affordability, and safety needed to thrive. While individual communities and families show resilience and success, systematic barriers continue to impose real limits on opportunities and well-being. If you live in any of these states, let me know in the comments what your experience has been. Somebody somewhere or all the billionaires need to get together and fix this issue because it's going to benefit everybody once we do. That's it for this episode. We'll see you on the next one. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Go find me on Instagram and follow, and we'll catch you on the next one.